You already know the answer. You've always known. But there are three voices in your head, and only one of them is telling the truth. The other two, they've been drowning out your wisdom for years. Welcome back to our Sacred Pause, beautiful soul. I'm Gwen, and today we're learning to hear the voice that actually knows the way home. We've been building something together these past weeks. First, we rooted, finding our word, our ground. Then we explored gentle structure, creating containers that support without suffocating. And today we turn to the most intimate practice of all, listening within. Because here's what I've discovered. You can have the perfect root word. You can build the most beautiful structures, but if you're not in conversation with your own wisdom, you're still navigating in the dark. Now, before we dive deep, let's prepare our vessel. Find your body in space. Feel where you're touching the earth through chair, floor, wherever you're held. This is your anchor. Place one hand on your heart, one on your belly. These are your listening stations today. Your heart knows things your mind hasn't figured out yet. Your belly holds truths your words haven't found. Take a breath that touches both hands. Feel your chest rise and your belly expand. Now, as you exhale, let something go. Maybe it's the conversation you just had. Maybe it's what you need to do next. Maybe it's the voice that says, you don't have time for this. One more breath like that. And this time, as you breathe in, imagine you're creating space inside, space for whatever needs to be heard. I want to share something that transformed my relationship with inner listening. There are three types of inner dialogue, and most of us only know one. The first is mental chatter. This is the grocery list, the replay of conversations, the problem solving, the planning. It's loud, it's constant, it's usually fear dressed up as productivity. This isn't the voice we're seeking. Now, the second is emotional weather. These are the feelings moving through, the anxiety in your chest, the excitement in your belly, the grief behind your eyes. This is important information, but it's not the whole story. Emotions are messengers, not masters. And now the third is inner knowing. The voice is quieter. It doesn't argue or justify. It simply knows. It might come as a feeling, an image, a sudden clarity. It often says things like yes, not yet, or this way. It's patient. It repeats itself without getting louder. Here's the key. Inner knowing often speaks in the pause between thoughts, in the space after the exhale, in the moment when you stop trying so hard to hear. Most of us spend our lives in the first type of listening, occasionally visiting the second, and rarely accessing the third. But your inner knowing, it's always there, always broadcasting. We just need to tune our dial to the right frequency. Now, think about a time when you just knew something, not because you figured it out, but because you felt it in your bones. That's the voice we're learning to hear consistently. And before we practice, I need to name why this is so hard, why most of us stopped listening within years ago. Maybe you were told your feelings were wrong. Maybe your intuition led you somewhere painful. Maybe the world got so loud that your inner voice seemed to disappear. Maybe you're afraid of what you'll hear. I spent years avoiding my inner wisdom because I knew it would ask me to change things I was not ready to change. I stayed busy, stayed distracted, stayed in my head because listening to my body meant feeling things I'd been avoiding. Here's what I didn't understand. Inner wisdom never shames, it never punishes. It might say difficult truths, but always in love, always with your highest good in mind. The voice that criticizes, that's not wisdom. The voice that catastrophizes, not wisdom. The voice that compares you to others, definitely not wisdom. True inner knowing feels like coming home, even when it's asking you to be brave, even when it's pointing towards change. It feels like truth settling into your bones. Let's practice together. I'm going to guide you through a simple but powerful technique I call body as oracle. First, bring to mind a question you're sitting with, not a huge life decision. Let's start gentle. Maybe it's about your weekend plans, a conversation you need to have, a project you're considering. Hold it lightly. Now, instead of thinking about the answer, we're going to listen for it. Drop your awareness to your heart space, not your physical heart, but the energetic center of your chest. Breathe there. Ask your heart, what do you know about this? Don't force an answer, just listen. It might come as a sensation, expansion or contraction. It might come as an image. It might come as a single word. It might come as nothing, which is also information. Now drop your awareness to your belly. This is your gut knowing, your instinct center. Breathe here, ask your belly, what do you sense about this? Again, don't reach for an answer. Let it rise. Your belly might know through sensation, tight or soft, warm or cool. It might know through a feeling of yes or no, forward or wait. Now, finally, let your awareness expand to include your whole body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. This is your full body knowing. Now ask, what wants to be honored here? Notice what you noticed. Maybe your head had one answer, your heart another, your belly a third. Maybe they all aligned. Maybe you felt nothing. That's information too. You're rebuilding a relationship, so it takes time. As you develop this practice, you'll need to discern between voices. Here's a simple guide. Mental chatter usually sounds like speaks and shoulds, references other people's opinions, changes its mind constantly, feels urgent or pressured, sounds like criticism or comparison. Emotional weather usually feels intense but temporary, reacts to immediate circumstances, carries the energy of past experiences, needs to be felt but not always followed. Inner knowing usually feels calm, even when delivering big truths, speaks simply without justification, remains consistent over time, feels like recognition rather than decision, and often surprises you with its clarity. The more you practice, the clearer these distinctions become. You start to recognize your knowing the way you recognize a friend's voice in a crowded room. So, how do we make this practical? How do we weave inner listening into daily life? Start with one check in each day. Maybe it's in your morning practice, a simple, what do I need to know today? Maybe it's before bed. What wants to be acknowledged? Maybe it's in transition moments. How am I really? The key is consistency, not complexity. You're rebuilding trust with yourself. Every time you ask and listen, you strengthen that connection. Some days the answer will be profound. Some days it will be you need water. Some days it will be silence. All of it matters. You're not listening for lightning bolts. You're building a relationship. Beautiful soul, we started today with a truth. You already know the answer. You've always known. The question has never been whether you have wisdom. The question is whether you'll trust it. This week, I invite you to practice just one radical act. Believe what your body tells you. When your chest tightens around that commitment, believe it. When your whole being expands toward a possibility, believe it. When that quiet voice says, wait, or now, or this way, believe it. You don't need anyone's permission to trust yourself. You don't need more evidence. You don't need to be more spiritual or more healed or more anything. You just need to listen. And then here's the revolutionary part. You need to honor what you hear. Next week, we'll explore what happens when inner listening becomes sacred action, when we stop just hearing our wisdom and start living it. Until then, remember, every voice in your head is not your friend, but the one that knows, the one that always has known, that voice is waiting to guide you home. Thank you for showing up, for being willing to listen, for choosing to trust the voice that's been faithful all along. You are so wise.